Hello everyone, my name is Rachel and I work here in Armagh Robinson Library. You're very welcome to the last of our videos for lockdown. And this video is particularly special because it marks the 250th anniversary of the founding of the library. So as part of the session, you will hear from me, my colleague Carol Conlon, Stephen Day from number 5 Vicars Hill, as well as our special guest, Isaac Beattie, a living history actor. So we hope that you will celebrate this event with us and we hope that you enjoy. You're very welcome, Captain Richardson.
Madam, it is an honour and a privilege for myself to be here in this fine establishment and indeed the healing place of the soul. And the reason I am here, of course, today is I'm most curious to learn more of our fine city and its origins from yourself and indeed from the fine works that you have here.
Excellent, it would be my pleasure. Come with me and we'll have a look.
Certainly, madam.
So, Captain Richardson, this is a 1770 census of Armagh commissioned by Robinson of all of the inhabitants of the city. You may well recognise some of the names or professions in this book.
Thank you, madam. I'm most curious, for at that particular time in my life, I was upon my grand tour. And of course, I am curious to find out those who perhaps still trade this day within Armagh and indeed in the day of my father.
So, Captain Richardson, you may well recognise the name of the Miss Cust sisters.
Indeed I do, madam, for I was often acquainted with their brother, the former sovereign of Armagh, and indeed I believe it is the three spinster sisters of Mr. Henry Cust within Market Street, am I correct?
Yes, that's correct. Captain Richardson, I'm interested in the name David Hannah and wife.
Yes, madam, for that has particular memories for me of my late father. The gentleman indeed in question is a wig maker. And my father would often have gone there for the provision of his wigs for formal occasions in Parliament.
So, Captain Richardson, I've noticed a lot of widows throughout the book and I'm drawn to the widow Cumming.
Yes. Am I correct that she has a property within Scotch Street of Armagh?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. She is a lady that my housekeeper will often go to for provisions for the household within the manor of Ridge Hill. And of course, as a widowed lady, she has gone into business to supplement herself and her family in the absence of her husband.
Mm-hmm. So, Captain Richardson, we're very fortunate to have the original drawings of the library here. You may well recognise the work of Thomas Cooley.
Yes, madam, indeed I do, and it is an honour and a privilege for myself to witness his works, for he, in the past I've been acquainted with him upon the Palace of His Grace, and his works there, particularly upon the chapel. But you know, of course, that the said gentleman, Mr. Cooley, was not always an architect, for as a young gentleman, he was apprenticed as a carpenter for many years and within the City of London.
Captain Richardson, you can hopefully see here a medal which was made to commemorate the building of the library. You can see the library itself and of course the Archbishop.
Yes, and I see the works of Mr. Cooley upon the face of it.
Captain Richardson, thank you very much for your visit here today. If you have time, I would recommend that you visit our other building close by on Vicars Hill.
Madam, I thank you kindly not only for your assistance here this day, but of course for the provision of knowledge you have attained to myself. Good day to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Can I be of assistance, sir?
Indeed you can, sir. I was within the public library, built by His Grace, and had a wonderful experience there. And they suggested that I should come here and visit the registry at number 5. And also I'm a little curious to learn about the other buildings here within Vicars Row.
Okay, well, I'm very glad that you called in, and I'll do my best to be of assistance. The first 4 buildings that just passed, they're older than this building there, George II period, built by Archbishop Bolter for widows of clergy. From here on down, it's George III period and quite recent, 1770s. This particular building's very unique, as you'll see from the style. Not built to be lived in, unlike the others. This is a registry to hold church records, mostly for the Church of Ireland, but other denominations too. Also secular records, and you can also keep valuables here at a small fee.
Excellent, sir. And would it be possible for me to inquire if I could see some of the treasures that you have stored here for safekeeping?
Well, certainly. We have some records in this cupboard, but I suggest we maybe move to the other room where we can see some of the treasures that we have kept. Some belonging to Archbishop Robinson.
Excellent, sir. I look forward to it.
Well, Captain, this is the first item I'd like to show you, a portrait of Archbishop Robinson himself in his countryman's clothes. Unfortunately, it's a little bit darkened. There is countryside to the back and so on, but we know several portraits were done like this, possibly by Angelica Kaufman or by Sir Joshua Reynolds. I can come back to you just to clarify that, but in any case, we were presented with this, and it's a good representation of the man. Horace Walpole, who you may be familiar with, he had quite a good quote in relation to this. He said that Archbishop Robinson, although he had aged seemed to soften him into a beauty. I'm not too sure what you think about that, but I think he looks quite healthy there.
The portrait, sir, does indeed do him justice, for I have had the blessing of God to be acquainted with His Grace, and for the 2 years whilst his palace was being built, he resided within the manor of Rich Hill. But he is a man not only known for his buildings, but like the king, good King George, he has a great love of agriculture. And it was this love of agriculture that, of course, drew Arthur Young on his tour of Ireland to spend time in Armagh and reside with the Archbishop and tour his estate. And he had great glee in showing the Teeswater cattle that His Grace had imported from his own home county in England here to the county of Armagh. And they produce both beef and milk.
Excellent. I must pay a visit to see these beasts.
And you should gaze upon the works of Arthur Young, sir, within the library.
Absolutely. Now, if I can take you to see some other familiar faces here. You may have met some of these characters, but you can clarify for me. So we've now seen Archbishop Robinson in his country garb. Just like to draw your attention to this beautiful print of him in his church attire. And at his desk, a very good formal picture. His cousin was Elizabeth Montague, and you can see her in the lower print. Very well known woman in her time. She was a co-founder of the Blue Stocking Society, started in 1750s. I've got a picture of her here as a young lady with her various friends, colleagues around her, but this is a more recent one during this particular decade, 1770s. And Blue Stockings were basically women who were quite well born, etc., but they associated with the gentlemen and were actually able to get involved in political, intellectual, artistic discussions just about the events going on at the time, basically being treated on the same level as the men. And people like Dr. Johnson and Sir Joshua Reynolds would have been well-known visitors to the salons where these women went to. They're known as Blue Stockings because of the casual stockings that they wore. White stockings maybe wouldn't be appropriate for these more casual salons, but that's how they came to be known.
Yes, sir, she is indeed a favourite of her cousin, His Grace, the Archbishop.
Ah, so you know her, perhaps?
Not. I've been in her company, sir, upon occasions, for I have had the fortune to travel to the season in London, and of course you will arrive at Bristol and your first stop will be Bath, and she resides there in the Crescent at Bath for the season, but she also has a home to break the journey between Bath and London, which is a day, and she has a home there in Berkshire. And also then she resides in Hill Street in London. And if, sir, should I recommend you are either in Bath or London, that you must become acquainted with her and introduce your knowledge of the Archbishop, His Grace. For she holds, as you have said, the finest gatherings that you will have within the City of London. And she encourages both men and women to talk and debate and discuss openly amongst each other. But she discourages, whilst there, the consumption of strong alcohol, the playing of cards, or the debating of politics, for she feels they stifle the conversation.
She's a wise woman.
So,
And does she have any other associations with His Grace, apart from being a cousin? Do you know their relationships?
She is much enthralled by her cousin, and she has said quite openly that when His Grace visits either Bristol, Bath or London, that he illuminates a room with his conversation, and she looks forward to the return of her Irish cousin.
Excellent. And would she have any association with the children, the Robinson children? The wider extended generation?
Well, sadly, alas, she is both a widow, for her husband was some years aged above her when they married, and they did have one issue, a son from that marriage, but he died while still an infant, and she has adopted her nephew, Matthew Robinson, and she brings him up as her own son, and as I am aware, he will inherit her monies and her estates upon her demise.
A substantial estate by the sound of it.
He will be a wealthy gentleman, sir.
Now then, that's the end of our brief visit today. I hope you enjoyed what you've seen, and I do hope you'll be able to get back before you perhaps go on your next travels to explore what we have in more detail, because there's lots more in our collection, both here and in the library.
Sir, I thank you heartily and wish you God's richest blessings and the preservation of these treasures that you keep, sir. Thank you kindly. Farewell.
Farewell.
I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. As Rachel said at the start of it, this is the 8th and final video that we've been involved in throughout a number of weeks. There's a number of people to thank, and I hope you don't mind that I choose to do that now. First and foremost, we thank our funder, the Arts Council of Northern Ireland, for making all 8 videos possible. Thank you very much. We also want to thank all the people who've been involved each week in a different format, highlighting a different subject. And of course, this week, we thank our guest artist, Isaac Beattie, who's helped us work within that 18th century setting. I also want to thank my colleagues, and I include in that Rachel Toner, our Visitor Engagement Officer, Stephen Day, our Registry Officer, and Tiersha Mulder, our Archivist, whom you haven't seen at any time. But Tiersha is the one who's been uploading the videos week after week onto our social media, so very much playing a part of the team. So thank you to all of them. I also want to thank McCusker Pro Audio Limited, who have been with us every single video, every step of the way, and I want to thank them very much. So all those people need a recognition, a team effort working positively to promote the 250th anniversary of the library. And in case you think we're the only ones doing that, in a few seconds you will see a photograph of a tree planting ceremony in the Mall, which was carried out just a very short time ago. And then we invited our chairman, Archbishop John McDowell, to plant the tree in the presence of our new keeper, the very Reverend Shane Foster, and other dignitaries in Armagh. And so you'll see that shortly. And in case you think, well, that's it, she surely hasn't anything more to say, let me let you know. Next year, number 5 Vicars Hill will be 250 years old, so we hope that you will celebrate it with us. Thank you.